Welcome everybody to the 2024 Iris Awards, kindly sponsored by Sony. We are in the student category this afternoon, and this is proudly sponsored by CR Kennedy. The student category is open to all part-time or full-time students enrolled in a recognised tertiary institute here in New Zealand or Australia, studying photography or a similar creative program. It is expected that all entries reflect a high level of originality. Entering the student category forfeits the right to enter any main categories. Images created under direct guidance of a tutor as part of your curriculum work can be entered into this category. Student entries do not earn merit points towards NZIPP distinctions. Photographs may be any subject matter. You may enter work created as part of the final year of your studies in the Iris Awards in the year directly following the cessation of study. All student entries must be entered under the student's own name and registration profile. However, they may be sent in bulk by your education provider. NZIPP accredited professional photographers, either current or past, are ineligible to enter this category. All right, we will start the run through.
Don't go because someone tells you to go. Don't go because everyone else is going. Don't go because it would make you look good, or because you can make it look good. Cities, mountains, streets, oceans, deserts, doesn't matter. Go because you have to go. Go because it was written on your DNA. Go because it's pouring out from every scene and dream and every map that leads you to the unknown. And every thought that seems to come back to the one thing that rips you out of bed at night. And when you go, go with eyes open, go fast, go nimble, go passionately, go without sleep if you have to. However you go all in. And if you don't like the rhythm, just change the beat. As you go, remember, the world is waiting for your perspective.
Okay, that's our run through. Right, in the student category today, our judges are Amber Griffin, Emma Steele, Faro Yavari, Janine Fletcher, Chris Anderson, Rachel Smith, Sarah Lee Cobb, Stacey Cavalier, and Matt Palmer. I am your panel chair, Tracy Kennedy. I'm standing in for Paul. He's a bit sick today. And beside me is Kim Sargent. We have Jerry, Bonnie, Jamie, and Emma Maxine out the back doing the print handling, so thank them. Oh. Right, our first judges up to the tables are Sarah Lee Cobb, Chris Anderson, Rachel Smith, Stacey, and Faro. So while the judges get signed in, we've got to, again, thanks Sony for our major sponsors and CRK as our category sponsor. Right, we all ready to go? Very good. First print, please. Okay, we have a score of 76, which is a bronze award. Well done. Can we get a comment from Sarah Lee, please?
Congratulations to the photographer on your award. I think this is a really interesting fashion composite. I think to focus on as a point of progression is just skin tones. She has a slightly green, and then a little bit more of an engagement in the mouth to match the expression in the eyes. So yeah, but otherwise very interesting in terms of street scene as well.
Thank you. Next print, please. Okie dokie, we have a initial score of 82, which is a silver award. Sarah Lee, would you like to give them feedback?
Yeah, congratulations, photographer, on your silver award. I think this is a fabulous capture of just what goes past in a utter blur in the moment is just frozen so beautifully with the twisting of the limbs and the movement and everything. There is as much interest in the spectators as there is in what's happening in the foreground, so a little bit more space in the cropping above that, and then you'd create even more narrative within the scene by giving it presence to the environment as well.
Thank you. Next print, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 79. It is going to review anyway. We have a challenge if they want to take it. Rachel, go for it.
You go. No, you go.
I scored this 82 in silver. I found it really beautifully put together. Obviously, Anzac Day, the activities of, I mean, everything that happened during the wars that the Anzacs were part of is for the little boy. So that there was that future for us. I think that it ties the story in really nicely that that the boy in the frame is actually looking up at the sky. Maybe if you believe in those types of things, thanking those that were fallen, or maybe he's just looking up there because he likes the planes. I don't know, but I just felt that it was well enough put together to be in a silver with that narrative.
Okay, Faro, you're at the other end.
Yeah, I think there's a strong narrative here, and the color palette, it suits the narrative, and it's kind of nostalgic as well. However, I feel like the really strong and contrasty shadow in the right side really compete with the rest of the image, and I feel like the father is looking out of the frame. If the father somehow could look to the child, it would be the narrative could be even more stronger. But I'm listening.
Okay, Sarah Lee, you're in the middle.
I agree with both of you, and for what Faro said in terms of the man on the right, had he been mirrored in this composite, so his eyeline went back into that scene, there's a lot that can be said for we look where other people are looking in images, so just keep that in mind in the future. I think the highlights and everything. There's a wonderful thought here, and there's wonderful narrative, and keep exploring it. And this is a wonderful start to, that concept.
Back to you, Rachel.
So just consider that shadow on the right, which is quite heavy, I agree, is the darkness that the soldier is heading off into, the unknown as he heads off to war. He may not want to be looking back towards the child and consider those years that he may miss of that child growing because he's at war, or he may never come back from. Just a little bit of an addition there, see if it can get you into silver.
Rescore, please. Okay, we have a score of 81, which is a silver award. Well done. Next image, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 77, which is a bronze award. Fro, you can challenge that.
I think in this specific image, the narrative is really challenging. I found it creates such a question. And when I spend more time with it, I feel like maybe the narrative is about the future of this man, this young man. So it's his dream to have his own business. And I'm not sure is the barrier, if I pronounce it correctly, barrier? Barrel, thank you. Barrel is referring to the business this young man wanted, or is just something else. It's well composed. The choice of paper is really suits the story and the color palette of the image, and I feel like for delivering such an interesting story in such a hard composition, it's required to be rewarded and recognized.
Furo, what did you score that?
I give it 82.
Okay, at the other end, we've got Chris.
So I'm on 73, which I put in professional practice. I think it's a really good concept, and I love that there's the echo of, the barrel and the making of alcohol in the middle. So the story's strong, and that's why I put it where I put it. I think a couple things to watch from a compositing point of view. The person with the leg sticking out of the front feels like it's really, really sharp compared to the elements around it, and then that makes you go, oh, okay, well, that doesn't really belong there, and you start to pick it apart, which is a shame. And I think one of the things, like, especially looking at it from a distance, it's all about the silver metallic surfaces, and it's not much about the person. They're wearing a brown coat, and it kind of blends in with the barrel and with the ground, and you can't see their face, so it becomes more about the mechanics of it and less about the person. So perhaps if there were other choices around toning down the metallic surfaces and then letting that human subject breathe a little more, see their face, have them in clothes that made them stick out more, then I'd be more in tune with that narrative. So I'm on 73, but I'm definitely listening.
Okay, Stacey, you're in the middle.
Yeah, I'll put this on 76. I certainly wanted to reward the photographer for that idea of putting the beer makers in the beer barrel. That's awesome. But a little bit like Chris, I was very much drawn into the very strong orange colour of the barrel and the brightness of the steel, as opposed to what the actions of the people were doing. So, yeah, really echoing what Chris says around losing the people. Is keeping me down in the bronze range.
Okay, back to you, Furo.
I'm hearing you, Chris and Tracy. There is definitely some error in post-production. I can call it some refinement required. It's not really a strong error still. It's very well composed to me. The way we are not seeing, I think, the face of the young man, perhaps there is a good reason behind it, and the reason could be it's not about the man, it's about the future of the person. So the future of the person would be, oh my God, barrels. And I think the color palette of the barrel, the color of the palette actually mentioned about the career as well. So it's really well printed, it's almost well composed, the story is there. So they're definitely required to be considered, all those elements.
All right, thank you, judges. Please rescore. And we've moved up to 78, which is a bronze award. Well done. Next print, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 77, which is a bronze award. Sarah Lee, would you like to talk to that one?
Yeah, I loved the directness of this image where the way the composite is, it's a head and shoulders, but her eyeline or maybe her brow line is really dead center, and that accentuates just her stare straight down the camera. I love the exploration of gel lighting on the right, but just be wary that if you've got extra light on one side, you're going to be dealing with extra shadow on the other. So there's a real loss of detail in her hair, and then there's also loss of detail in the highlights across her chest where the kimono folds over. And just those little technical difficulties have brought the image down slightly.
Thank you. Next image, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 80, which is a silver award. And can we have some feedback from Chris Anderson, please?
I think this is really engaging. I love that the subject's eyes are so clear while the rest of the elements are kind of being intruded on by those background elements. And kind of there's a whole bunch of choices in here to make this a bit abstract, and I think that's fantastic, like the inversion of the background elements. I think maybe to push it even a little bit higher is to give us a sense of why we're looking at those background elements, how that ties in with the person and make it more of a cohesive whole. That would have pushed it up even higher. But I mean, it's a silver, so well done.
Thank you. Next image, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 79, which is a bronze award, and Chris has made it known he's challenging.
May I please? Oh my gosh, this is so beautiful and subtle and engaging. The tones in this are just magical. I mean, the kind of cold surroundings around this, what I'm presuming is a flower, and there's the colors of the rainbow in this flower that you can see, and whether it's something in between the camera and the subject to make it distorted like that. I was kind of at first going, oh, why are there three? Why is there not one? And then this feels like, well, this is someone looking out of a window and seeing this flower that's kind of moving with the wind, and it's over a period of time. It's just, it's got such a subtle gravity and poetry about it that I think is is wonderful and engaging. There's a consistency between each of the three images. And yes, they each move from light to dark, which means you have this nice layering as you move top to bottom in the image. I think as a set, they hold together really well. I'm on 87, which is a solid silver with distinction, and I can't wait to have a chat.
Rachel, you're at the other end.
Yeah, I thought you might come to me. I scored this 73, and from the sounds of what Chris is really enjoying in this image, is probably opposing exactly what I'm struggling with. So maybe you can help me a little bit there, Chris. I actually think that the top of the three images is the strongest, and the other two are not adding to the story or adding a story at all. The top one is like some sort of a demon bird head type creature, which it made me really, really curious, and I got nothing additional from the other two. And the other thing that I'm struggling with is the choice of matting it with one window in that way. It's making me question, is there something I'm missing in the way that that's been done that is adding to it? So if you can help me with that.
Sarah Lee, you're in the middle there.
I agree with both of you, obviously, for placing in the middle. What I find quite intriguing, pretty literal, sorry. What I find quite intriguing is that the movement blur between the second one, which heads to the left, and the bottom one, which heads to the right, adds a little bit more intrigue to it. I definitely think the top one is the strongest, and perhaps just one image in a square window with still the circular frame, etc., would be wonderful. And I have nothing else to sort of add, sorry.
Okay, back to you, Chris.
Okay, so it sounds like a couple things to talk about. One is, why are there three instead of one? So as you make your way from the top to the bottom, it's windier. Like there's more motion, and I'm imagining someone sitting inside, looking outside, and the weather's changing, and it's becoming rougher, and it's becoming more chaotic. So as you move from top to bottom, you get that extra chaos, but it's still beautiful, and that's the nature of things that are growing, and they do move. They move with wind, and this is capturing this in a way. It's quite an elegant presentation. I struggle to think about how you would present this subject with that movement in a different way to be more elegant than it is. If you had three circular mats, it would have been quite abrupt and jarring. I feel like grouping them all in this, the way this has been matted, it feels like one cohesive art piece. So to me, all those choices make really, really good sense, and they help to make this the image that it is. So I'm on 87. I'd love to have some company.
Okay, please rescore, judges. And we have a score of 81, which is a silver award. Well done. Can I have a blank screen, please? All right, we're going to swap some judges around. Faroe, have a wee break, and Sarah Lee, have a wee break. And we're going to bring in Emma and Matt, please. We all good? Next image, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 74, which is professional standard. Are we happy with that, judges? Okay. And Matt would like to talk to that one.
Yeah, initially when you look at the whole of this image, you go, oh, what's this pink going on in the corner there? And I think the photographer's actually gone out and photographed the aurora, and that's the auroral glow that's illuminating the scene, which motivates that kind of reddish tinge on all the image there. The shimmer of the beach is caught beautifully, and there's tracks and things in there as well that add interest. I think what would have improved it further is just a little bit more legibility around what is being illuminated by flash in the right foreground there.
Thank you. Next print, please. Okay, we have a score of 75, which is a bronze award. Well done. Emma, would you like to give some feedback, please?
This is a creative idea. I found it a little bit hard to see where to rest my eye, and there's some bright highlights, but I like the idea and the colours and the busyness and a little bit of the crazy, which is obviously probably what the area is like. But no, creative idea, well done.
Thank you. Next print, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 78, which is a bronze award, and Matt's hand's gone straight up. You can challenge that.
Yeah, so I saw this image almost like the story of a photo shoot, which is obvious, but the non-obvious bit is you're getting from the very first frame to the last frame and what you have to go through to get the sweet picture of the girl at the end that the parents want. But in order to do that, you almost have to negotiate with the child, make it fun for them, engage them, and that's what all of these middle frames are, is the child is actually having a say in the photo shoot and reacting the way that they want to and responding the way they want to. And so it's this pathway between all of these different expressions and utilizing the plinths in different ways and the kid just having fun. Like, this is what it's about, fun, to get to that sweet little moment at the end. And that sweet moment isn't the award-winning photograph, but depicting that journey and that negotiation, I feel, is.
Stacey, you're at the other end.
I scored this a 74, and I enjoyed that narrative. That was great. That gave a little bit more sense. Initially, I felt that there were potentially a lot of images that didn't really link together in terms of the story. I do enjoy the consistency across the colouring of all of the images. I found there's some the skin is probably needs a bit of attention in some of them, and I'm still struggling a little bit with sort of where the beginning and the end is in terms of how that all fits in. I'll be happy to come up into the bronze range though.
Okay, Chris.
So I was in the middle on 77. I remember seeing this in the run-through, and you kind of go, oh, are all these necessary? Yeah, they're all necessary. Everyone is different. And Matt, you've explained kind of the anatomy of the photo shoot really well. So from the beginning to end, that all makes sense. I find the skin tones okay. I think for me, there are probably two things that would have pushed this. So I'm in bronze. What would have taken me to silver? One is perhaps some more consistency in the construction of each of those shots. So the plinth was in the same place and the scale was the same, because that change of scale I find a little bit disruptive. More important to me, there's very few where the subject's looking at the camera. They're often looking off. They're looking over the photographer's shoulder at a parent or at someone else. So it's missing just that little spark of connection with the viewer. And I'd love to discuss those two things, because that was what was keeping me out of silver.
Okay, back to you, Matt.
To address those two things, I'd say in terms of the sizing and the consistency, I kind of see it as music in that you have crescendos and you fluctuate, and you have quieter moments and bigger moments where it's coming straight at you. So I kind of feel like that gives it a bit of a rhythm through the series of images as well. In terms of a later point, I totally appreciate what you're saying there as well. I could suggest that there's enough images that maybe not all of them need to be looking at the camera, and sometimes being in their own world can be a positive thing as well, especially when it's clear that they're not being directed, maybe, poke your tongue out or whatever, but there's so many poses here that she's just coming up with herself, and so I'm rewarding it in the low silver range, but see what you can do.
Thank you. Rescore, please, judges. Good talking. We've gone to a silver at 80 points. Well done. Next print, please. I have a score of 72, which is a professional standard. Can we have some comments from Rachel, please?
I really enjoy the way that this is presented, and the thin panoramic crop of just the flower heads. I think there's a technique being explored here that hasn't quite hit the mark, because there's no set focused or sharp point, but there's also not enough movement to give it a feeling of intentionalness to the way that focus is not there.
Thank you. Can I have a blank screen, please? We are going to get Stacey to take a break, and Amber, if you can join the panel, and Rachel, if you want to take a break, and Janine, if you want to step in, please. Okay, can we have the next image, please? Okay, we have a score of 80, which is a silver award. Congratulations. And can we get a comment from Matt? Thank you.
Yeah, this photograph is gorgeous. The nestling of the building within the valley, the way that the light travels up and draws you into different layers all through the image. I think the thing that would lift it even higher than it is now would be a little bit more sensitive treatment of the black areas that are going a little bit muddy and losing a bit of detail. With those in there, this would be divine.
Thank you. Next image, please. Okay, we have a score of 75, which is a bronze award. Congratulations to the author. And Janine, would you like to give comments, please?
Congratulations on the bronze. This is quite a thought-provoking image. I enjoyed the really murky sort of creepy kind of atmosphere that's being portrayed, and I think the photographer's been really successful with that. To improve, I think maybe do even more creative work to accentuate that atmosphere. There are some bright spots on the right-hand side that could be just touched out, and that would certainly help.
Thank you. Next image, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 76, which is a bronze award. Chris, would you like to talk to that one, please?
I would love to. So there's I really appreciate the way we've got kind of this aged color palette and the film negative. So, you know, it's talking to us about times gone by. I think when you drill into the images, each one of them adds a little tiny bit more to the story, but perhaps you only needed the first one or the last one. Like, I'm not certain that having 4 of them, maybe you needed more images to fit into the film motif, but one of them might have been stronger. And I think, like, when you get up really close, almost all you can see is that green folder the person's holding, like that because it's everything else in every other piece of color in here is quite warm except for that. So it grabs your attention and maybe doesn't reward you so much. So I think this is absolutely a technique that's worth continuing to explore.
Lovely, thank you. Can we have a blank screen, please? Chris, would you like to take a wee break? And Faro, would you like to step back in, please? Okay, next print, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 74, which is a professional standard. Well done. Emma, would you like to give some feedback, please?
Well done for your image. Yeah, it's a nice portrait, probably, and it's been lit, so that's well done for that. The hand is quite bright in comparison to her face, so just perhaps look at that. And maybe if you could just give us a bit more of the story, whether that involves getting a wider frame or, yeah, tell us more. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Next print, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 84, but we have an automatic challenge from Matt.
So I just scored this just into the gold range. I think for student work, this is incredible. It's like a riot of colour, there's happiness, there's joy in it, there's all of those connections with food. It's showcasing all of the ingredients and things that come together, not only to create this beautiful pattern in the centre, but to celebrate this one humble dish that's been photographed in the centre. So I think just rewarding this incredible amount of work that's been really highly executed by the photographer here.
Thank you. Janine, you're at the other end.
Wow, I'm surprised I'm at the other end. So this, but I gave this image 80, and I was rewarding it for all the things that Matt has said. And I think it's a brilliant story because curries are the food that they've got so many ingredients, and that's the beauty of a good curry is how much stuff you throw at it. So from that point of view, I'm entirely in support. I did pick up perhaps on a couple of repeats of ingredients, which I thought maybe distracted from the story. But other than that, I'm certainly listening.
Okay, Amber, you've put your hand up there.
I scored this image in 82, so I guess I'm somewhere in the middle. So Matt, there are three things that I would need you to address for me. The first is the choice of the layout of the colours of the spices around the outside. I just feel like there really hasn't been enough thought put into that as a pattern, with the two red at the bottom there. And you know, I feel like with a presentation like this, that is such an important part of the overall composition. The second thing that really bothers me is the gap just here in the red spice, because I feel like that is not an intentional gap, and everything, all of the other red parts are all beautifully connected. And then the final thing is in the rice at the bottom, there is quite, it just looks a lot darker underneath there, but I don't really know that that's a shadow. So those are the three things that would keep me out of gold.
Okay, back to you, Matt.
Yeah, thank you for your directness. It's always great when you're challenging and somebody goes, here's what I want. So I'd say with the first one, in terms of the design and the colours around the outside, you're completely right. I've got no argument for that. It would have improved it had that red been balanced out in another part of the composition. So that's definitely something for the photographer to keep in mind when they're doing this kind of image. With the repeated elements, I didn't catch them. They may be there, but that's a pet peeve of mine when anything looks like this. It's like, okay, well, have they reflected things? Are they using different ingredients, and the what I am going to call the cashew check. That's what I did. I looked around and all of those cashews were original. I just did a double check on the spices, and I could see that there were differences in the texture, particularly in the green spices. So I'm like, oh, I'm not seeing what you're seeing, but I appreciate that you might have spotted something. Well, it's difficult. I'm trying to remember the last bit, the gaps. You're also right about the gaps. You know, if those gaps weren't there, I might have an easier job to do. Look, this is a celebration, a riot. It's everything about this dish. It's the joy in it. It's colour, it's boldness, it's exciting. So, look, if you can't come to gold because of those reasons, I totally understand because I see them. But at least silver distinction if you can.
Judges, please rescore. You talked it up a little bit. 88 silver distinction. Well done. Next print, please. Blank screen, please. That's not the image that we've got. Okay, that might be an honours. I'll message honours. We're just having a wee issue out the back with the order of the prints. So while we're waiting, we are in the student category, and that is sponsored by CRK today. CRK, the students are our future, and are pleased once again to sponsor the student category in the Iris Awards. CRK Photo Imaging are New Zealand Australia's premier supplier of camera lenses, pro video, cine gear, Ilford printing papers, photographic equipment and accessories. Good luck to all of the entrants. Be sure to visit Gerard and Mark at the CRK Ilford stand in the trade zone and let us know how your images did in the awards. So now we're going to talk to our judges for a wee bit. Janine, do you want to tell everybody outside what you're all about?
Well, I have prepared in advance after my judge training session. So I am from the scenic hinterland of central Otago, and more in particular Ranfurly, population about 700 people. So it's pretty small. Not surprisingly, I am a landscape photographer, but it is fairly out there and creative kind of work. And I have my own gallery in Ranfurly, which is a lot of fun. I'm full-time doing that, but I'm sort of bringing a lot more, I suppose, feeling and emotion to the landscape in a creative way. Deeply passionate about these awards, and I can talk a mile a minute about them. I'm an NZIPP Grandmaster. I love to print my work, and so I'm an Ilford Master as well, and I've won a few Iris Awards.
Well, thank you, Janine.
That is me.
Okay, let's hear from Amber.
Hello everybody, my name's Amber Griffin. I am a commercial and portrait photographer currently residing in the beautiful Wairarapa. I too, like Janine, am a really firm believer in the NZIPP and these Iris Awards. I think I've been entering the Iris Awards for about 10 or 11 years now, and entering these awards has really been the single most important professional growth for me as a photographer. I just adore the learning that takes place in this environment, and I've also made some of my closest friends through this whole organisation. So it's a joy to be here, and I'm really enjoying this week.
Thanks, Amber. We are just experiencing a difference in what's on our screens and what's out the back. So they're just trying to sort that, and we'll get back to our regular scheduled program very shortly, hopefully. Let's hear from Faro. Faro, what can you tell us about yourself?
everyone. My name is Furuk. Thanks for having us from Australia to New Zealand. We are so excited to be here. I'm a fine art portrait photographer, and fine art portrait and fashion photographer, and also visual artist. I mostly a specialist portraying the narrative behind women and telling their story in a very creative way. I exhibited my artwork all around the world. And I love entering awards because not only I'm excited about seeing the result, but I'm really learning, inspired, and it's kind of a very strong educational platform for me and other photographers as well. And yeah, I'm really excited about the students' art, students' photo as well. So yeah, that's me.
Okay, let's hear from Emma.
Hi, I'm Emma Steele, and I'm a portrait photographer from Canterbury, really, so local here, and it's nice to have the awards here for the second year in a row. Sorry about the weather. Yeah, I'm got my masters with the NZIPP, and I'm a associate portrait masters with the Portrait Masters system, and I've been a finalist in a few categories over the years, and yeah, still going for that elusive gold. But no, it's great to be here and all the people, and it's definitely makes you get creative when you think of entering these awards, so definitely recommend it.
And Matt, you're on the panel now too, so
Yeah, hello again. So I guess these days I run a landscape photography gallery in Victoria, in Australia, with my partner Mika Boynton, who's judging in one of the other rooms right now. And yeah, I think that's the main thing now. But in the past, I kind of say, people ask what I've shot, and it's easier to say what I've not shot, which is pretty much just babies and galaxies. And that's usually a pretty good summary. Everything else has probably been photographed at some point or another. I do a lot of project work, so things like photographing Thai kickboxers or interviewing Muslims for a portrait project, or all kinds of weird things, abandoned buildings in Iceland, and then there's a book about that out at the moment that you can pre-buy. But yeah, I think that's about it. In terms of these awards, so I've been lucky enough to win Australian Photographer of the Year in the past, but I can very easily say that that never would have been a reality without having engaged in this process, and it's something I've done for over a decade. The feedback you get, it's not even just what you get on the panel, but after all of the PPY stuff is done and dusted and we can actually talk about things, the interpersonal connections that you can have with people, the mentoring opportunities, those are the things that can just lift your photography beyond what you can even imagine. So if you're on the fence, then it's time to jump over the fence, and you just try it for a year, see what happens, and then maybe we'll see you here again for the next 10 years.
thanks, Matt. Okay, right, we are back to our regular scheduled program. Let's go. Next print, please. Okay, we have an initial score of, actually, no, we have a score of 85, which is a silver distinction. Congratulations. And I'm going to pick on Emma to do the comments, please.
This is a great image. I love the colour palette, and you can almost feel the serenity of it and the peace of it. It's the photographer's done really well. It's a beautiful image. I probably don't have too much. I'm thinking Janine might have a bit more to say on the landscape. Can I pass it over to Janine for... Here we go.
Very quickly, I think the photographer's done a fabulous job of making it look like dust, and also all the right things are in the right places. So well done.
Thank you. Next image, please. Okay, we have a score, initial score of 76, which is a bronze award. We can challenge... No, we're good for that. Matt would like to talk to that one, thank you.
Yeah, the photographer, the detail in this dress, wow, it's immaculate. It's just a gorgeously photographed dress. In terms of the model, I find the cropping that's around the elbows to be a little bit tight and constrictive, and perhaps working with the model to kind of motivate the pose to fit and bridge that connection between the background, which is a bit gothic, and the foreground, which is that beautiful dress.
Lovely, thank you. Can I have a blank screen, please? We are going to give Matt a wee break and bring Chris back in. And Emma, thank you. And Sarah Lee, jump on in, please. Okay, can we have the next print, please? Okie dokie, we have an initial score of 82, but Amber has scored it a bit higher than that, so she has an automatic challenge.
I scored this beautiful trio of images in the gold range, purely for the absolute beauty of the cohesion of all three of them. I think it's really difficult to have three separate images that actually all sit together so well, and I think this is a really beautiful piece of art. So I don't understand why I'm the only one in gold.
Faro, you're up, please.
I have some expectation. I think it's like such a beautiful way to illustrate nature with overlayering and deliver it in a very artistic way. However, the left image the left image compared to the two of them are really soft in terms of treatment, and I don't know, I feel it like it's not really cohesive treatment compared to the two of them. And I feel getting it like it's talking about the season as well. And I'm looking for the fourth season. So if you explain those to me, I will definitely come up a few points more.
Okay, Janine, you're in the middle.
Perfect. I am in support of this image. I scored it 85. And I believe that it's not necessarily seasons, more progressions. And I saw progressions from sort of lighter to denser. The other thing I saw was that yellow and blue equals green, and I thought that's a good reason to choose those colours. And I think the colours actually obviously complement the subject of the images, and there's a lot of thought and a lot of intention. Triptychs always look better than four seasons.
Okay, Amber, back to you.
Sure. I initially thought seasons as well when I looked at it, but I actually think that it's really more about colour than seasons. Like Janine said, and I see the blue and yellow make green, and for that reason I kind of wanted the two primary colours to be on either ends and the green in the middle. But then I think that from a visual perspective it would have felt less balanced, as you've got cool, warm, cool. So that's why I think that this works so very well. As far as the softness of the green image goes, I think perhaps that could be to do with the fact that there is running water in that image, and it's got, water running under the bridge, and maybe that the softness of that is echoed through the rest of the print. But I think the main reason that I love this is because for me, it has real Monet vibes, and I just think it's a really successful piece of art. I think that you guys need to come up.
Judges, rescore, please. Good talking. 87, silver distinction. Well done. Next print, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 78, which is a bronze award. Sarah is challenging.
I scored this in 83. I love the concept of having a big brother view down to an isolated little figure in a real urban environment, in that it's the always watching you. Whoever you are, you're anonymous, there is no face. They're looking down, obviously, at a phone, they're engaged. But there's just so much grit and so much mood to this image, and all the beautiful textures that they've really accentuated, and this very strong vignette to bring our attention towards that dark figure. And it has a real strong feeling of isolation, and I think it's worthy of a silver.
Okay, Janine.
I need to really think about this image. I scored it 75. I guess I particularly enjoyed the path that the figure was walking on, and that was really engaging, especially with the darker stripes of tiles through it. I was a little disturbed by the top right hand side. It just felt quite busy, and it didn't help me connect with what was happening. But I will certainly consider what other people say.
Chris, you're in the middle.
So I'm on 78. I had this in bronze. It's really good talking about this. That top right-hand corner, I kind of like it. Like, it feels like a lightning bolt that's dissecting the image and that darkness. If it was light, this would be bland. It's not. So it helps to balance out the weight of the figure. I appreciate the Big Brother aspect to it, and I think the choices to leave like all the gritty texture in the path is really nice. What kept me in bronze and kept me out of silver was kind of the dodging and burning right around the figure. So there's just a halo around that black figure, and it's, you know, it's clearly to help draw that figure out and provide contrast. But once you see it, it becomes quite noticeable. And unless that's an angelic figure, that halo doesn't kind of belong there. That's really the only thing I need explained. And if you can explain that, I'll move up.
Furrow?
Well, actually, I can explain it.
Okay, great.
Well, actually, I was looking at it as much as looking at it. As much as I looking at it, I feel like I more understand the story here. Actually, the vignette around is like bring all attention. It's like someone looking at that person from the height. It's like added to the story as well. First, I was like the heavy vignette around, but after that, no, maybe someone looking through that guy. And also the way the person is just climbing, it feels like that person is not walking in a surface, it's actually climbing out. And perhaps it's like talk about the modernism and how that person tried to, achieve the goal, climbing out. So for that reason, I can just forgive like the halo happened around that person, because I think the narrative composition is really strong here as well. All the leading like somehow is just showing the top hill. So yeah, I'm coming up.
Sarah Lee?
I don't have anything to add to Farrow's argument. That was really strong.
Okay, judges, rescore, please. Well done, 81 silver award. Next print, please. Okay, we have a score of 76, which is a bronze award. Congratulations. Amber, can you speak to this one, please?
Congratulations on your bronze award. I think that this is the technique that the photographer has explored with this is really wonderful. There's so much going on in this grid of 9. But when you present a grid of 9, it's really important that each image within the grid is as strong as every other image, and even more so than that, I think it's really important that the composite makes sense compositionally, and I just think that hasn't been achieved here.
Thank you. Right, can we have a blank screen, please? Janine, take a break, and Stacey, jump on in. Next print, please. Okay, we have a score of 74, which is a professional standard. Are we happy with that, judges? Okay, thank you. Chris, would you like to give feedback? Thanks.
Congratulations to the photographer for making some bold choices in this. Like, we don't often see a mat that looks like this. We don't often see kind of that composition with the green background. So there are some gutsy choices, and I think that's great. I think there's a narrative that comes through really clearly about kind of factory, modern versus nature. To push this higher, there's probably two things. One is being really careful about the composite work, embedding those two figures in and letting them sing in the environment they're in. But also that central image, it's perfectly rectangular. Like, the edges are really, really sharp, and it feels like they're contained inside of a frame, like a woven frame. If that image had been bedded into that frame so it felt more natural, I think that would have lifted this quite a bit.
Thank you, Chris. Next print, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 78, which is a bronze award, and Fero's hand's gone straight up. Off you go.
The image, it gives me a Renaissance feeling, especially the presentation, choosing the arc matting. It's just elevate me to more Renaissance painting. And especially like, this is like a flower, we might see it everywhere, but presented it with like such an abstract feeling to it, and adding motion and a technique to it to capture it. It's kind of like adding to a story of the image. I'm really interested to hearing from you guys.
Stacey, you're at the other end.
I scored this a 75. I do really enjoy the tone, the colour range of the image, and that arc shape really does do something. For me, it's beautiful. I am struggling to find something extra that brings it up into the next award level for me.
Okay, and let's hear from Amber, please.
I scored this image a 78, so a high bronze, for all of those reasons that you spoke of, Feru. I think the thing that kept me out of silver, even though I really do love the art shape, but I just don't feel that they've quite fitted this composition well into that shape. It feels like there's just a little bit too much negative space within the image at the bottom and on that left-hand side. And all of the interest in the image is in the centre of what I assume is a flower there. So I think it's just the compositional imbalance that I struggle with.
Okay, back to you, Feru.
When I'm thinking about the composition, it just reminds me when we put like a bubble of glass at the top of the flower, and it's just the flower is just stuck at the top. That's how I feel it, like the flower is just trapped there. So that's how I look at it. And I want to, you guys consider the print as well, the choice of paper, and especially delivering black without getting any muddy color is another level. So for the narrative, the abstract feeling of the flower, and also the great printing and great choice of paper, I feel like a couple of points to silver.
Hey, thank you. Rescore, please, judges. Good talking. 80 silver award. Well done. we have a blank screen, please? We are going to give Amber a wee break and Rachel jump on in. Next print, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 81, which is a silver award, and Faro's hand's gone straight back up again.
Yeah, I'm excited about this image. I've never had a chance actually watching any of this race or like, I don't know exactly what they name it, but the timing here is really, really right. It's really spot on. Look at all those like reaction and the background, everyone like, ouch. And especially like the left subject on a horse is just looking back to make sure the other subject of falling down is really alive. So for me, it's like the timing is really a spotlight. And the choice of deliberate in the color is another level because it's dusty. The color palette shows what's exactly happened. Most of the time we see it in black and white, but I think the color palette here is really spot on as well. I'm listening, you guys.
Sarah
I
Lee.
gave it 87.
Okay, Sarah Lee, your turn.
I scored this 74 and I may have underscored it. I love everything that Faro has mentioned in terms of the captured action. I feel like the cattle or the cow that's behind him is being hidden a little too much. With rodeo, my assumption is he's supposed to have caught the cow, and that perhaps the frame where that happened would be more successful as opposed to just falling from a horse. I also find with how busy the top is, where the crop goes across the buildings, and there's also a very quiet moment where there's just sand below. If there was more space up the top, it would give it more breathing space or breathing room. I think the crop perhaps could be addressed.
Okay, Chris is first, and then Rachel.
I'm on 82, so I had this in silver, and I'm not far off of you. It's so crisp. This is like how someone has captured just this right moment with all this dust. That dude in the middle, and he is saying a bad word at the moment, too. I actually really like that the cattle in the back is a bit obscured because at first it's like, oh no, he's fallen, is he okay? And now it's like, no, he's about to get trampled. There's a threat that you have to uncover the longer you look at it. So I think that's great. I only had one thing that bothered me, which is there's like this patch of orange on someone's sleeve in the background that could be easily toned down or removed or changed color, and then you wouldn't notice it anymore, and that would just bring your attention to where it needs to be. So you know what? I'm going to come up to silver distinction.
Rachel, you're interested too?
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in. I was at 82 as well, and I am going to come up with Faru. So I'm really pleased that she challenged this. That orange on the sleeve, it is a bit of a distraction, but it's actually also I think it's a contestant number or something. It sort of brings me into the context of what's happening, and the way that the gentleman that's fallen has his arm up actually brings me into what's behind him. It takes me directly to what the threat is. And then my eye goes back to that horse that he's come off, who is saying, oh, no way, mate, you're on your own, bugger this, I am out of here. So I think it's actually really beautifully done, and I'm happy to come up.
Faru?
Thank you so much, everyone. I think we all already in the same page. Sorry, I want to say, like, this is document, and it actually sits in documentary, and it's really hard to like repose for a better composition. And about the orange thing, Chris, I really didn't see it, so I feel like it's really not really obvious, and is it forgivable as well? But I think we're already in the same page.
Rescore, please. Good talking, 86, silver distinction. Next print, please.
I'm sitting close to the legends.
Rachel.
I'm giving you energy.
We have a score of 74, which is a professional standard. Stacey's challenging that one.
I scored this an 81. I just felt it was really bold, really, really bold, and I really enjoyed it for that reason. I appreciate there could be some finessing with the pose, and there was obviously those big bright spots, but it feels like she's in a showroom, and so they're like the lights of the kind of the showroom around her, and she's being very dramatic, and the whole image is very dramatic with that really, really strong colours through it. And it would be great even to get a few points to bring that up into the bronze range to reward that.
Chris.
I'm down on 68, and I'll tell you why. Like I think the setting is amazing, and having those out of focus lights is wonderful because it establishes a sense of place and looking in the mirror. So it's the makeup, bulbs and stuff, and the connection of the camera to the subject's face, I think, is wonderful. And I think that portion of the image has been handled really well. Where I start to really struggle with it is as you move to the extremities, there are some areas where, whether it's a printing issue or a processing issue, the colors are really breaking up. And in particular, if you look at the foreground, the figure in the foreground around the cheek, especially where there's a transition from light to dark, it's really abrupt. And it is something that would need to be finessed to get this into professional practice. So I think a lot of the bones are here on this image, like the potential is here, and there's a lot of really good work. It's just that level of control over lighting and post-production to bring it up into professional that I want to see.
Okay, Sarah Lee.
I scored this a 74. For all the reasons that Chris mentioned. I do find the orange in the highlights of her skin, I keep getting drawn back to that. I love the scene setting that this photographer has placed them in. There's a lot of stylizing, a lot of thought gone into it, but exposure and skin tone is very fundamental to all photography. And if you're struggling, explore black and white, it can help.
Okay, back to you, Stacey.
Okay, so might have my work cut out here, and I can accept that. I think I do see the skin issues. I just think the boldness of it is really exciting, and I really want to reward that photographer for that really bold choice. And there are some elements in it that you said you were positive about. You enjoyed the lightness of it, and the light spots around it. And yeah, help me out here.
Rescore, please. Okay, we have stayed the same at 74 professional standard. Well done. Okay, blank screen. Faru, have a break, and Emma, jump on in. Just a reminder, judges, they're going to start jumping on us soon, just to keep our comments succinct. And next print, please. We have an initial score of 75, but Emma's going to challenge it. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to reward this. I've given it 81. I wanted to reward the photographer for doing this colour and these really rather bold, having the pink and the light blue on the sides, and then bring that through in the image. Yeah, there's things that aren't perhaps perfect, but I think it's a bold, brave image, and I wanted to reward it for that. So if perhaps you guys can just have a wee look and bring it up a little bit. Thanks.
Chris?
I'm on 72, so I put this in professional practice. It doesn't need to be perfect. I think there's a kind of a chaos about this that's pretty wonderful. I want to know why. I want to know why there are two images, and why is the color the way that it is, and why choose these two frames of this person? Like, there's not that much of a difference between the expression. There's not that much of a difference between the pose. So I guess I don't understand how they fit together, and why those choices have been made, and why these two images. So I super want to know more. So if you can help me with that, I'll come up.
Rachel, you're in the middle.
Yeah, I've scored this 73. I'm going to come up because I think I was a bit mean with that scoring. Just to give a bit of context to what I read into the colours, and it may not be correct, but I'm getting a transition there from, the feminine pink to the masculine blue, and so I'm feeling like there's a communication there around gender in the colour transition. I think that I would go much higher if that communication was just a little bit more clear.
Okay, back to you, Emma.
Thanks, Rachel. I was thinking along the same lines. So I think that could be it. Just, Chris, if it hasn't filled that in for you, that this is probably where they're at, and maybe the other image is them looking back at previous life, or where they want to be, or how things have changed for them. So, yeah, have a think and bring it up, guys.
Please rescore. Okay, we have 77 Bronze Award. Well done. Okay, Chris, take a break, and Matt, jump on back in. Yeah. And next print, please. Okay, we have a score of 76, which is a bronze award. Congratulations to the author. Sarah Lee, would you like to give feedback, please?
I love the juxtaposition of tradition and modern street life that's in it. I think it's been said many times before, but when presenting multiple images, they all need to speak to each other. I think the top two, being both street scenes and having similar perspectives, are stronger than the bottom one, and perhaps just exploring those top two and making them more similar to bring out the contrasts in them would be to strength of this image.
Thank you. Next print, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 82, and Matt's going to challenge that.
Yeah, silver award's great, but let's talk some more. The color palette in this is just gorgeous. It's like taking me back to the 1950s or something, and this dog is waiting for the perfect American nuclear family to come home from work. And for it to communicate that just through use of color is beautiful, and it contrasts so well with the dog and its warm patches and its fur. It really sits beautifully. The expression on the dog is very calm, but also quite gorgeous. I would say the use of window light, but it's not exactly like that. The use of external window light is really very well. It's facing towards the dog. It's not in shadow or anything like that. And all the details there, it's just gorgeous.
Okay, can we hear...
I was in 86, so just a few points more up.
Can we have a comment from Emma, please?
Okay, I'm on 78 and definitely thinking of coming up to silver. Just how far, I'm not sure. I really enjoyed this for those reasons, Matt. I was a little bit distracted by the highlight on the paw, but other than that, it's gorgeous expression and loving the colour palette. I'm listening.
Stacey, you're in the middle.
I'm very much with you, Matt. I really enjoy this. All of the things that you said, but also it feels like a really, really clean print. It's been processed really beautifully. There's obviously the kind of linear hard lines of the house, and then there's so much detail in that fur, and it's really, really, really soft. And so I'm really enjoying the kind of the contrast between those two things as well. So I scored it in 85. I would be encouraging people to bring it up into silver distinction.
Back to you, Matt.
Yeah, the only thing I've got to work on is a little bit of highlight in the fur, the paw by the sounds of it, and I appreciate, that could have been handled a little bit better. But it's not too bad. It's not like it's nuclear, like the nuclear reference I made before. Yeah, it's being held there right on the edge, but if it was all there and beautifully detailed, I'd be looking even higher than the 86 that I'm on. So I'm encouraging you to come up into silver distinction. There's expectation. It's really beautiful for such a simple photograph of a dog. There's so much beauty in this. So I encourage you to come up.
Rescore, please. Good talking. We've gone to 86. Silver distinction. Next print, please. Okay, judges, you're actually all very, very close. It's an 86 silver distinction. Congratulations. And Matt, did you want to talk to that one?
Absolutely gorgeous image. Each of the three poses, even if they were presented by themselves, they could potentially be in the award range. Particularly that one on the right-hand side is just stunning. I think the only thing that could really improve it, and these are really pedantic things because we're already such a great score already, is maybe a little bit more space around the outside just to frame it. And also where some of the more moved poses have the blur through them from the other pose in that transition, sometimes they're running across the face, sometimes they might be creating like an unusual foot shape that's really particular, but that's the kind of stuff that we're talking about at that level. Exceptional.
Thank you, judges. Okay, just a blank screen, please. Sarah Lee, have a break, and Janine, come on back. Okay, next print, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 77, which is a bronze award. And Janine's going to take that up.
There is much to enjoy about this print, which is an art piece, and it flows down the page from the very delicate leaves through into the more complex shape in the middle and then finishing off at the bottom. I did see one or two things that sort of pulled me back a bit. There was a few distracting spots, and I think perhaps a textured paper for this image for the photographer, really consider that. But I felt there was a lot of creativity in presenting this in monochrome as well. And I would be really interested to hear what other judges have to say.
What did you score it, Janine?
Sorry? I scored this 84.
Okay, Matt, you're at the other end.
Yeah, I had it in high professional practice, but we're all students, no matter how good we are, so I'll be listening intently. What held me back was just, I felt like there could have been a lot more detail in this subject, especially since it's a still subject. It's possibly studio lit, or it's at least placed and photographed. So if there had been all the detail through the texture of those seed pods or whatever they are, that would have been just really set it off. But I did appreciate that the high key look gives us, almost directs us to look at them as if they're specimens rather than something that's in real space. It's like you're really examining the objects, and that's communicated well. And also kind of like a life cycle of the seed as well. I think it's done well.
Okay, Rachel, you're in the middle.
Yeah, I scored a 78, and I'm quite happy to be convinced to go higher. I actually really liked the paper choice being cold because of that transition from bud to decay, and so the coldness sort of worked with me on that. And I found that softness actually gave it a film-like quality. There's a grain in there, and that also made me think of X-rays and other types of processing and image capture. So those were really successful for me. So I'm quite happy to be convinced to come up higher.
Okay, Janine, back to you.
Look, this is just, it's been brilliant because I've had a little more time to look and think and listen to other judges, and that's sort of prompted me into a line of thinking that this is not a documentary shot. It's not looking at the specimens. It is an art piece, and it really references the flow of India ink on paper. As a watercolour piece, and I think that is absolutely intentional. The photographer / artist has really really worked hard to convey that feeling of a watercolour print, and particularly that sort of India ink look. So I'm feeling really strong on my 84. So I'd really like you to consider coming up, please.
Right, rescore, please. 81, silver. Next print, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 78, which is a bronze award, and Emma's going to challenge.
Yeah, I scored this 81, so silver. I thought the styling has been thought about with the colours, and also the placement of where he's leaning with his shadow, and then the black on the right, and then the white behind him. I think it's a really clever art piece. Yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I think perhaps just have another look. I think it's definitely worth a silver.
Stacey, you're at the other end.
I scored this 76 in the bronze range. I also really enjoyed that kind of black and white contrast and that shadowing against the wall. I felt like I was really drawn into those really light areas, which is his nipple, which I wasn't quite so sure about. And a little bit more attention of how the clothes are falling would have elevated it a little bit more for me. So I'm listening and would be really interested to hear what other people are saying.
Matt, would you like to have a chat?
Yeah, I was a little bit in between, but also in bronze. I kind of felt like this image was him being surrounded by things that are black and white, but obviously very obvious there, but in terms of he being the grey area, and the grey area is actually really colourful, and he's in between those spaces. So he's like acting in contrast against everything that's around him, and he's a very flamboyant, colourful character, vibrant. But I also agree in the wardrobing, a little bit of ironing in certain spots. So like his pants, for example, have a bit of a curl on them, where it could have been ironed down, just to do all those little tiny details that's going to polish off the whole image.
Okay, back to you, Emma.
Thanks, Matt. You've kind of brought things to my attention I hadn't seen. But yeah, no, nothing too much to add. The highlights on the nipple, I wasn't really drawn to that, Stacey. But overall, I just think it's really impactful and deserves a silver.
Rescore, please. Emma, is yours in? It's whirling. Oh. No. While we wait for tech support. Oh, here it comes, it's done. We have a result of 80, which is a silver award. Cool. Next print, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 78, which is a bronze award. Are we happy with that, judges? Okay. Rachel, would you like to comment on that one?
Yeah, I find the concept and the construct of this is really well done, but I'm struggling with the full narrative. I don't know if that's just me, but I think I needed a bit more there. I probably would have scored the centre image on its own higher.
Thank you. Can we have a blank screen, please? Stacey, have a break, and Amber, jump on in, please. Next print, please. Okay, we have a score of 75, which is a bronze award. Congratulations to the author. And Matt, would you like to chat?
The photographers captured some beautiful forms in the fire here, and I think that's why it's earned its bronze. In terms of getting a higher score, there's a bit of inconsistency in how the source of the flame is treated along the bottom of the frame, and I'm not sure it's even contributing. So potentially you could just crop all of those off and just focus on those gorgeous movements and forms.
Thank you. Next image, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 77, which is a bronze award. Janine, you doing that one?
I scored this 85, silver distinction. What an incredible picture of death and dying and decay. And the bits, the spots all around the outside and the dust and the sort of things falling apart, in the graphics of it dropping down from the top. All things that I enjoyed and led me to score this silver distinction. I did see a few things which I'm sure you'll bring to my attention, but yeah, fire away.
Off you go, Matt.
Yeah, I figured I might be talking next. I was still in professional practice though, so I am in support of it in that way. I maybe saw more of the technique in freezing the specimen and in photographing it backlit through ice, and that's created some bubbles in the wings and things, and that can be a really interesting technique to explore, and I think continue to do so because there's so much potential for this kind of imagery using those techniques. But I kind of just felt like I wanted more to provoke me, maybe more of the animal or some other part of its body that's included, or I just feel like with just the wing and the claw, I'm not moved enough, and maybe that's me, but that's why I was kind of in professional standard.
Amber, you're in the middle.
I am. I scored this image a 78, and I love the decay and the kind of creepiness of it, and I particularly like the claw, except I just really struggle with the fact that the claw is not sharp, and I wasn't really aware of that freezing technique that you speak of, Matt. I actually quite like the composition, and I really like that they've chosen to really focus in on the wing and the claw rather than what you would sort of normally choose to focus in on. But I just really want a bit more clarity and sharpness in that claw.
Okay, back to you, Janine.
I had a feeling you guys were going to give me a bit to work with here, but that's okay. Look, I've got to try this ice thing. That sounds really cool. I think the restraint shown by the photographer to not show the entire body of the bird and make it more about the shape and the graphics and the wing and just one part, I think that is actually really worthy rather than giving us the whole story and letting us interpret that. So that restraint, I think, is made it more of an art piece. The non-sharp claw, it possibly is related to that really cool ice thing, but I think it does sort of have a painterly quality to it, so I'm willing to forgive that. I'm on 85. And please consider lifting this image. I'm not too sure where we're at the moment.
We're on a 77 bronze.
Yeah, into the silver range, I think would be well deserved here.
Rescore, please, judges. You did it. 80, silver. Next print, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 78, which is a bronze award. Are we happy with that, judges? Okay. You want to challenge, Amber?
I don't think I can challenge it.
Okay, so we have a 78 bronze award. Congratulations to
But
the
I would-
author. But you can speak to it, Amber, yeah.
Congratulations, this is a beautiful portrait of this dancer. I'm quite familiar with this type of work, and I think in order to improve this image, you just need more connection between the dancer who is sharp and looking off to the left of the frame, who is beautifully posed, by the way, although that supporting leg could turn out just a wee bit more. But I think that to make this style of imagery more successful, it's really important to have a connection between both of those figures. And with this long exposure style, it so often happens that a face becomes quite contorted and a little bit sort of ugly with that long exposure. So that's really worth thinking about when you are posing your dancers. But congratulations, this is a really great image. Well done.
Thank you, Amber. Can we have a blank screen, please? We are going to give Rachel and Emma a break, and Chris and Farrow. Next print, please. Oh, sorry. Okay, we have an average initial score of 78, which is a bronze award. And Janine is going to challenge that one again.
I scored this image 83. I saw this on the run through, and then the print is out there compared, and it's the sort of image that's possibly easily overlooked, but it does have a really magical quality leading into this amazing location. And I felt for the light in the image was incredible, and so I was happily sitting on 83.
Thank you. We have, Matt, you're at the
Yeah, sorry. I put it in professional standard, and I think it is an image that would be fantastic for a local tourism board or anyone that wants to promote the beauty of this place. What held me back in this context is that the color treatment of the image is kind of affecting everything in the image. So there's, for example, the rocks in the lower right-hand corner. While there's going to be some color cast because the light is bouncing off the walls of that cavern, it's a little bit too much green in that color. And so I felt like if you pulled that back by white balancing against something that's a neutral grey and then reintroducing those warm colour tones, that could create some nice colour contrast throughout the image. That would also give it quite a bit of a crisp finish as well. But overall, yeah, I thought it was a very solid image.
Okay, and Chris, you're in the middle.
I'm on 78, so I put this in bronze. This is an adventure piece. Like, I can hear the Indiana Jones music playing in my head because I'm going to say this is a photographer because I think they're holding a tripod. So I'm, probably a pair of photographers walking along, kind of leading into that back section, I'm actually really glad you brought up the color toning, because this doesn't feel like reality to me. It feels like a movie still. And I know it's the wrong orientation, but run with me. It's like when you apply kind of that, oh man, my words are leaving me, but like, you know, that color tone to a movie still, so that it, yes, it does affect the entire image, but it provides this heightened level of reality that maybe adds to the adventure. I think that is helping this. So it's taking it away from a true to life landscape, and it's bringing it into more of an adventure story. So thanks for saying that. It's going to make me go up.
Okay, back to you, Janine. Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Matt. Look, I think Chris actually hit the nail on the head. It's unreal reality, really. And that sort of heightened, sort of heightening of your senses is what I think the photographer is trying to convey here. Yes, I do understand that the colour balancing could have taken some refinement, but I think this was intentional by the photographer to give us that warmth and that almost cinematic kind of quality. Yeah. So, I scored at 83, so yeah, all power.
Okay, rescore, please, judges. Hey, 80, silver award. Next print, please. Okay. Yep. Okay, we have an initial score of 82, which is a silver award, and Matt's hand has gone straight up.
So I'm on silver distinction, and I think there's just so many good things going on in this image. It's so beautifully crisp. There's detail. You can even see the texture inside of the inside of the hat that's flying off this guy's head. There's great expression. He's just in this intense moment of focus, and his pal on the horse there is cheering him on or giving instructions or something going on there. I don't know. I'm no rodeo expert, but what I do know about rodeo photography is that often the images that do well are the ones where people are absolutely stacking it. And we tend to celebrate the disaster in this genre of photography, but this image is actually a beautiful display and a dramatic display of success. It does appear like he's going to capture this cow here. I'm not going to get into animal ethics because this isn't something I'm behind, and I'm putting that aside. I'm not in support of this sport, but I do think the photography that's captured it is fantastic. And everyone in the background there's a space for, and all of them are involved in what's going on. We don't have an annoying sky at the top of the frame. It's all contained beautifully. What more could you want?
Faro, yours.
Yeah, I give it 78. I was really wanted to sit like in silver with distinction, and I think just two things, or maybe three things actually hold me back. Here I feel like cropping is a bit problem, like the hat is almost jumping out of the frame. I'm not sure, maybe in a good way. which I look at it more, maybe in a good way. Also, the left subject on a horse, the face is really red. It's like oversaturated, and the hat is really bright. So it's just kind of competing with what happened in the right side. I'm listening. I really want to come to silver, but not really sure about silver with distinction.
Hey, Amber, you're in the middle.
I scored this image in 84, and I am going to come up to silver with distinction with you, Matt. I agree that the energy and the tension in this image really should be rewarded. The reason I was down in silver to start with was because of that crop, Faru. But really, when I sit with it a little bit, I actually, normally I would think cropping somebody's bottom on one side and then halfway through someone's face on the other is just a big no-no. But actually, I think it really adds to the drama and the tension, that really close crop. As far as the red nose goes, perhaps the guy on the horse just really enjoys drinking and his nose is just really red. I don't know. But I think that this is a really dramatic capture and it does deserve to sit in the silver with distinction range.
You may, quickly.
So super quickly, I gave this 81, but and I will be coming up, but one of the things that I really enjoyed that hasn't come up is the dynamic between the two horses. The one on the left is going, "Hey bud, I have got this," and the other one is going, "Hell no, I don't." It's just a really quite a funny element.
Right, back to you, Matt.
Yeah, so to address those points, I think Amber already smashed it, but I'll just make sure. The crop is fantastic. You want to exaggerate this action, and by putting that hat right up against the edge of the frame, that's giving it exaggeration and also a bit of tension as well. In terms of the red face, I was going to make a drinking gag as well, but I don't need to now. But what I would say is look at the red of his shirt and then look at the red of his face. That's red's coming from exertion or from other means rather than from anything the photographer's actually doing. So I believe that his face is that red in that moment. So I would not hold that against the photographer. But overall, just a fantastic action photo. Please come up to silver distinction.
Rescore, please. '87 silver distinction. Well done. Next print, please. Okay, we have a score of 75, which is a bronze award. Congratulations to the author. And can we have a comment from Chris, please?
This is a great still life with some quirky elements, like, you know, you're used to seeing these with fruit and flowers, and there's a card with an octopus and a piece of fabric with a moose. Like there's stuff in here to discover, and I think that's really intriguing. I think to improve it, there's one element, I guess it's a ring near the bottom left that's quite bright, and especially from a distance, it's all I can see. Like my eye goes straight to that. So maybe finding some more balance between the elements that you want us to land on so that they sit more comfortably with one another would help to elevate this.
Thank you. Next print, please. I'll get the print handlers to look at that. Can we please confirm that this print is the correct orientation? It is the way it's set on the back. Okay, we have an initial score of 81, but Faru has given it a 92.
I give it 92 because of the gold color palette require gold. It's desert. It's desert, and I, as a person, live a city close to the desert, like the same sand color. It's so familiar. It gives me such a nostalgic and give me such an emotion. This image has outstanding emotional and visual impact, and there is a cookie there as well. When you're looking at it and trying to find through all beautiful details, you find the shadows of the camel and create such a circle, because you can see the camel is coming from the top and create a circle at the center, almost center of the image with the shadow, and I think it's just rewarding in that case. Print is really, really well handled. All the details there. There is a beautiful play between the warmth of the golden light and the cold of the twilight. So I think it's really outstanding visually, and I want to hear from you guys.
We are going to go to Janine.
So I scored this image 73, professional practice, and I certainly observed all the beautiful colours, and I observed the camels, and I have actually seen one or two things on my second look that'll bring my score up slightly, but I guess I'm struggling with that emotional connection that Faru was really enjoying, so I would love to hear more about that. I just felt like the story and the emotion weren't quite strong enough for me, but I am listening to stories about that one.
Okay, can we please hear from Chris? Thanks.
So I'm on 83, which I thought was a really solid silver. And discovering all these elements in here was a lot of fun, like discovering the tire tracks and the animal tracks, and then yes, that little portion with the camel shadows that kind of decodes the rest of the image was lovely. And I'm rewarding it for those and for just the sweeping tones throughout the image. I mean, it almost looks like, if you kind of squint your eyes, it looks like smoke that's wafting into making a cool shape. So like the choice to shoot this location at this time of day and have that decoding of the camels, I think is great. And that's why I put it in silver. So I also didn't have that same emotional reaction to it. And maybe there's more to discuss. I'm pretty comfortable with it in silver, but I'm listening.
Matt wants to have a quick chat.
Yeah, I scored it into the bronze range, and I did that because of the beauty of the tonality and the detail. However, when you're photographing aerially, when you're shooting straight down, you can create an abstract of a landscape, and you can flip that almost any way you like. But as soon as you introduce an angle when you're shooting towards the landscape, and there's an angle, not straight down but outwards, and then you decide to rotate that, it almost gives you this feeling of kind of uncanny valley in people, where you think, oh, is this right? There's something that doesn't feel right about this. And I suspect that this has been shot at an angle from an aerial vantage point and then been flipped in order to accentuate aspects of the story and the flow of it. But to me, it just feels slightly off because of that shift in perspective. And I also think having shifted it to the natural perspective would also allow the shadows to anchor the whole composition, and then the lightness would be floating on top of that. So I think presenting it in its original form perhaps might have strengthened it quite a lot.
Hey, back to you, Fru.
I'm not really a specialist in taking aerial photo. I know you are, so I take at that point. However, I think like as a student managing an aerial photography, like presenting it with lots of crisp details and a beautiful color pattern, palette, is another power of like this is a student. And also I want to say like. It's really emotional and connecting for me because it's a kind of Middle East land, because the camel is there, so it's just connected to me as well. And I see lots of like footprints there, like there are footprints, like the car prints. So perhaps this is like a tourist area, like everyone just passing, and that's the end of the day. And the golden hour creates a beautiful river in the middle of the image. And also we have shadow. Somehow the shadow is just turning to animals like dinosaurs, whale or something like in the top and bottom, I don't know why. But the coldness is really well handled. It's like when the shadow comes to the desert, you feel cold. When the sun is there, you feel warm. And I get all this emotion, and that's the reason I'm connected to this image. This is gold. I'm fight for gold, but I feel like definitely should be considered at least silver with this technician.
Please rescore, judges. $85 silver distinction. Congratulations. Right, that was our last printing tree. We are going to change over to digital. Judges, if you would just like to usually step out for a couple of minutes to do changeover.
No.
Okay, judges, we are back. We're ready to go. We're going to swap Matt Palmer with Sarah Lee. You can start up, and we are going to call back, who have we got? Chris, Amber, Faru, and Janine. Thanks. Right, we're on our first digital entry of the student category, proudly sponsored by CRK. And we also give thanks to Sony for sponsoring the NZIPP Iris Awards. Are we ready for our first image, please? There we go. Okay, we have an initial score of 77, which is a bronze award, and Chris is putting his hand up.
Sure, let's do this. We're presented with images so often that the rules for the image are clear to evaluate it, and this breaks all of the rules, right? I mean, we're all standing up here looking at this going, we think we might know what it is, but the technique, there's multiple things going on here to present this piece of art to us. I'm pretty sure everyone did the same thing that I did, where they squinted at it and got up close. Like, it's really challenging to assess an image like this because it makes you dispense with all the technical stuff and just go to feeling. And there is a feeling here, and I could be way off base, but I've done a little bit of travel in India. This feels like a temple in India with like a wagon thing out the front. And with the sun setting and that golden light coming over the top, and those kind of cold things towards the left. It's a piece of art that it's just feelings. And I'm on my 82, and I'm still conflicted about this image because I don't know how to feel about it. So I really, really hope someone else talks to stop me from talking now, so we could talk about this some more.
Okay, Sarah Lee, you're at the other end.
I scored this 74 because I was, I guess, as confused as Chris in terms of the subject. I love that warm colour palette, and I definitely get that sunset landscape feel. I see different things in it to you, but that's the beauty of blur, is that it keeps people looking and we can imagine our own things within it. There's no one particular subject for my eye to rest on or for any storyline to be created around it. So I'm just left with a whole lot of not just what am I looking at, but why. I also find the top left glare, the white patch, or just where that tone changes, I just wish it wasn't there. I do wish that there was as the uniform colour the whole way through the frame. I'm willing to come up because there's so much intrigue with what isn't there, but yeah, I'm comfortable in a bronze.
Okay, Amber, you're in the middle.
I scored this image as 77, and I too felt quite confused about what I was looking at. The reason that I struggled to come into the silver range was that I believe that with an abstract piece of art like this, that composition becomes extremely important. Composition's always important, but even more so with an abstract like this. And I just feel that it's cropped too close at the top. And there's also really distracting things on both of the edges of this composition that keep pulling my eye to the edge. And I just want to sort of bring that horizontal crop in a little bit. But I do think this is a beautiful piece of art, and I think that it would have been really lovely to see this as a print as well.
Okay, back to you, Chris.
Okay, so there are some elements towards the left and the right. Like there's a vertical line towards the right that has a kind of a twin on the left that I feel like because it's such a wide crop, that helps to keep us in. So I think they fulfill a purpose, and that keeps us into the center a little bit. So I'm comfortable with that. You kind of used words like intrigue. That's a good word, you know. I even think confusion is a good word. I guess I agree about composition being super important too. Like again, with an abstract like this, yes, that composition is important. And we've been presented with something that has a heavier base that anchors us to the ground. It has an ethereal lightness towards the top. There's a sense of a sunset. There's a sense of a timeless place. I would wager we all feel confused. What I'm going to ask you to do is if that confusion makes you feel unsatisfied, then stay where you are. If that confusion makes you feel good and makes you feel intrigue, then come on up a little bit. I'm in silver. I know I'm working really hard to get us there, but I think this entrant deserves to be rewarded for presenting us something so brave, unique, different, and confusing in the most excellent way.
Okay, thank you, judges. Rescore, please. $80 silver award. Next image, please. Okay, we have a score of 76, which is a bronze award. Congratulations to the author. Sarah Lee, would you like to speak to that?
I love the Alice in Wonderland too big in a small space sort of growing storyline that we've got here. With composites, there are so many things to consider, in particular focusing on the different types of shadow that happen within and subject interacting with the environment, and also styling. I love the sequin blazer and the jeans. I just don't know if they add to the narrative, and keeping someone's, I guess, eyeline within the image and not looking off to the corner. Plus there's also a really unusual line to her left. But credit to the photographer to take on such a big, ambitious concept and keep going.
Okay, thank you. Janine, you can have a break. And Stacey, do you want to jump in, please? Right, next image, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 78, which is a bronze award. Are we happy with that, judges?
No,
Okay, Chris can challenge that
all
one.
right. Oh no, I touched the microphone. I said I wasn't going to do that. Okay, so I'm on 82 in silver. For starters, there's a really cool technique being done here that is a bit of a mind mess up. That's not the word I was going to say. Like, you have to look at this 5 times to kind of decode the Escher-ness of this house and the dimensionality of the roof. Like, it doesn't fit together right. So you spend time rummaging around in there. And now that you're familiar with the space, you start looking at the story that's here. And I can't work out if the house is floating or not. It's embedded, but it's not. There's a kind of a magic about this that I think is really intriguing. There's a story in here of someone maybe trapped, and they're probably trapped because of the weird dimensionality of the house. But I think it's intriguing as an image. So I'm on 82, and I'd love to talk about this some more.
Okay, we're all a bit even. Sarah Lee, would you like to speak, please?
I scored this 75 bronze. I'm with Chris. There's a definite perspective shift that's sort of going on with the inside-outside created house. I find that the 2 tones between the background, I guess, or the environment and the house just a little too different. I think had there been perhaps an overlay of a texture or a little bit of colour toning done after the image was composited, it would have created more of a cohesive look to it. There's definitely a strong narrative here. I don't know what it is. Like, I can't read the storyline. And I would love to have a little bit more of an obvious storyline come forward for it in order to score it higher.
Okay, and we're going to go to Furu.
Chris, I think like the photographer really, as you said, delivers such a illusion, a visual illusion to this image by creating the house like that. When it comes to this kind of breaking the perspective and creating illusion, you want to see it in every single element. And here is just a house. And it creates some question. And also, there is, under the house, we see it like a shadow. I'm not sure really the shadow is here, especially in this kind of treatment, really helps the house be floating or the house be really like looks real or not, because we don't want to see it real. It's not real. Also, the light in the window, I don't know what's the source of the light, and it makes a question, because I'm sure the story is related to the light, but the light source is not really real. The flower in the left side, they are really nice to be there, but in terms of perspective, if we bring it too close to the child, it would be like the size of the tree. So its perspective here, again, is a question. But definitely is an interesting image to talk more about it.
Okay, and Stacey.
I'm really glad you challenged this. I scored this at an 80, and it feels to me like it's got a really magical quality to it, and it's almost illustrative, like you might find in a children's book. So I think about some of the children's books that my sons read, and they would have photographic elements, and then they would kind of have drawn elements, and this feels very reminiscent of that. So I don't exactly know what the narrative is with the little girl looking out the window, but the flowers on the left feel quite whimsical and magical, the moon, and just that kind of real contrast between that sort of natural background and that illustrative, funky perspective house I'm enjoying.
Okay, back to you, Chris.
Thanks, everyone. That's a really good chat. And thanks, Stacey. You've done a whole lot of work for me, so I appreciate it. I'm glad we could talk about this some more. We had some conversation about the kind of difference in toning between the house and the background. I think that's critical. If you didn't have that, then the house would get lost. And it leaps out at us as the main thing for us to see. In fact, there's the warm light from the lamp, and then the only thing that's cool in the house is her dress and whatever's from the outside that's glowing in, and maybe that's moonlight coming in, or maybe that's something else magical, but there's questions that are not being fully explained, which I think is really important. If this is page 4 in a 14-page storybook, you know? So there's more to this story. It looks like she has a suitcase. She has a case next to her. It's open, so maybe there's a story about wanting to leave, and that teddy bear under the lamp. I don't know what it means, and it's not important. I don't need to know what it means to know that there's a magic in here. So there's a little bit of texture over the top of that house and in some of those lights as well. So there's it kind of ties in the roof of the house with the leaves of the trees as well. So certainly that thing that you were asking for, I think is actually there. What are we at right now? 70?
We're at a 78.
78. Okay, so I'm asking for 2 more points to get this up to silver.
Rescore, please. We have a score of 81, which is a silver award. Congratulations. Next image, please. Okay, we have an initial score of 78, which is a bronze award, but there is an automatic challenge from Amber, please.
I gave this image an 88. I think that this is the most incredible disco fly that I have ever seen. It's I know that the focus and sharpness isn't kind of quite there on some pieces of it, and that's what kept me out of gold. I just actually think that this is an incredibly clever concept, and I don't know why you guys are so low.
Okay, Chris, you've got to answer that one.
I'm on 72, so I had this in professional practice. It is definitely a disco fly. I'm right with you there. I think probably sharpness is important to me in an image like this because there's the potential for so much of this to be crisp and clean, and I was hunting through the image to find the sharp points, and I feel like it's the spines on the wings. I feel like that's the sharp point, and they're not the hero of the image. I feel like the hero is either the kind of the mottled blue-green kind of the fly or the bubbles. So like my eye wants to go to where those sharp pieces are, and when I get there, it's just off. And I think perhaps there's like a little pink bit that sticks in from the bottom of the image that we can remove it in this category. We could change it to make that composition stronger and really bring you into the fly. So I'm on 72, which is professional practice. I can hear your passion for the disco fly, and I'm glad we're talking about it.
Okay, Faru.
I like that the disco fly. I didn't know what exactly it is. I tried to figure out from here. It's like piece of jewelry, so I adore it. I love jewelry, and I think like I was like I want it in a ring. So I give it 78 for that because I think it's really beautifully, creatively delivered. So I can like come to silver, I guess. I agree with Chris as well. I think there are some distracting element in the bottom, in the dark side, which easily could remove for better composition. And also I feel like the thing really bothered me is like the bright pinks in some area is in terms of oversaturating, it turns to some weird color, like really bright, and it's just go to the white in some part as well. I don't know what's happened there, but yeah, it's really interesting in conversation. I want to come up.
Back to you, Amber.
The hero of the image. What is the hero of this image? It was the veins in the wings of that fly that made me realise it was a fly. The veins give the lifeblood to this creature. The shapes of it are echoed through water or whatever it is in the background. I think you guys need to seriously consider the weighting that you're giving to those imperfections. Because this is actually a really, really cool image. I'm not asking for gold, but I'm asking you to come up to give it a solid silver distinction. It's really worth it. It's a disco fly.
Rescore, please, judges. $82 silver. Okay, we're going to have a quick judge change. Faru and Amber, thank you very much. Emma and Rachel, please. And just a reminder, judges, to keep your comments succinct. We are it's estimated to be running over time, so. Next image, please. Okay, we have a score of 75, which is a bronze award. Congratulations to the author. Emma, would you like to give feedback, please?
Yeah, congratulations to the photographer. This is, I love this, the sort of the story and where this is going. I think with a bit more work, just with making sure that the shadows and highlights are all matching, similar for all elements. This is the highlight on her leg, which I'm not sure where that's coming from. And just watch when you're placing stuff in, that it's got the correct shadow that relates to that element. But, beautiful colours and well done.
Thank you very much. Next image, please. We have a score of 77, which is a bronze award. Congratulations to the author. Can we get a comment from Rachel, please? Oh, Chris, okay.
Okay, this much buzz. Congratulations on the award for this image. It's a good application of the technique. I think there's a good narrative in here around kind of I can't tell if it's one figure or two, so there's a passion and a dance that's happening, and the interplay of the purples and the reds, lovely. I think perhaps to elevate it, the hot spots are really hot, like on the cheek and the shoulder, and it drags your eye there. And maybe thinking about a composition that puts the important stuff in the closer to the center, or at least not quite off to the edge. I'd experiment with different crops and different ways of laying this stuff out, because this is a technique that you've absolutely got a handle on, so it's worth continuing to experiment with it.
Thank you. Next image, please. Okay, we have a score of 73, which is professional standard. You're all about the same. Stacey, would you like to give feedback to the author? Thanks.
Yeah, what I really enjoyed about this image is how the blue toning sort of matches the mood of the girl within the image. That complements each other really nicely. The double exposure doesn't quite work with, it's really difficult to see that underlying figure and to know, we're losing an awful lot of that second figure, but I think continue to play with this technique and continue to grow with it.
Okay, thank you so much. Can we have the next image, please? Okay, we have a score of 80, which is a silver award. Congratulations to the author. Can we get a comment from Rachel, please? Oh, would Emma? Emma, okay, righty, sorry.
Yeah, congratulations to the photographer. This is a lovely concept with the music box type scenario, and it's well done. I think play around a bit more. What let me down is just the fact where the ballerina's looking into the mirror, and you're actually getting, instead of her face looking back at you, you're getting her back. So if you flip that around, that would have given us that little bit extra. Well done.
Thank you. Next image, please. Good. Rachel? We want a challenge? Or?
Yeah, I will. I will. I scored this 82. I put it in silver. I was kind of hoping that someone else would score it higher and be able to fill me in as to the connection in the image with the Wi-Fi and the media sort of track type listing. I'm feeling like there's some sort of association with music here that I'm missing, but I actually felt that the construct was really well done, and so if I had had that connection as well, I would have gone into distinction or higher. So I'm interested to see what other people thought.
Okay, the other end is Emma.
Hi, I scored the 75. I just didn't quite get the concept. I enjoyed the brick wall with the clouds and elements of it. His jacket, just for note for further styling, has just got a bit of hair and dust on it and doesn't take much just to get that off. And the shirt is quite bright. But other than that, I'd just really like to understand what the story is, if someone can fill us in.
And we're going to Chris, please.
So I'm on 77 and put this in the bronze range. As an homage, I don't quite understand the choices that have pushed it past. So I think that's the thing that I really want to have explained. I think the Spotify logo and the thing on the top right, if my guess is right, you could scan that with your phone and it'll play some music, which might help to illuminate what this image is about. But in this context, we don't do that. So that's kind of if that's what it is, that's a missing element that we don't get to use. So I guess as a note for the photographer, that's probably a step we can't take. But if we can explain that homage a bit better, then I'm happy to move up.
Okay, back to you, Rachel.
You didn't talk for as long as I thought you would, Chris. I thought I'd have a bit more time to try and get my head around what that might mean. No, I don't have anything to add. I was hoping that someone could add more for me, but I did think that it was worth us talking about more. And I'm sitting at 82. I'd be really happy if people could join me, but if you can't, then I can understand that too.
Rescore, please. Okay, we've gone to 79, which is a review. So judges, you know what to do. 80 or 79 or 80, please. $79 Bronze Award. Okay, next image, please. Okay, we have a silver award at 80. Congratulations to the author. Emma, would you like to speak to this?
Well done to the photographer. I'm loving the creative story here, although I don't fully understand the concept, but I really appreciate the where it's going, and the tones and the lighting on the girl on the floor is beautiful, and the flower coming out of her back is really well done. I just didn't fully understand the total story, so I would have gone higher, but well done. That's a lovely image.
Okay, next image, please. We have an initial score of 81, which is a silver award. Sarah Lee's going to do it.
I scored this in 86, silver with distinction. Really interesting little details that you find within this image. Obviously, we look at it as a whole with this very wheel-like design, and then we go in and we try to figure out what the eyes are doing, and then there's beautiful tones and textures and details within the inner circle. I see a dog eye, but then I also see a lot of spiders staring back at me, which is quite unsettling. Very unsettling. There's so much to look at within this image, and there's so many different things to interpret. And the mind just wanders on what we're actually looking at, and because it is so captivating, I think it deserves to be scored quite highly.
Okay, I'm going to Rachel at the other end, please.
Yeah, I scored the 77. I thought it was a strong bronze. I got the spider feeling too. It made me think of jumping spiders a little bit. But then I sort of thought, oh, we're going to Furby World, or I couldn't quite figure out exactly what it was constructed from, which kept me really busy, and I enjoyed that. And then the shape itself made me think of a ship's wheel, a steering wheel. But I couldn't actually connect the shape with anything else, and then as far as the actual technical, the cutout around the outside, I think needs a bit more finessing. It's, not quite there for me.
Okay, and in the middle, we'll go for Chris.
I love images that take this kind of, a slice of something and make a symmetrical pattern with it. And like I've been kind of wrestling with, well, what is this exactly? And I feel like it is a portion of a dog and a tail and fur, and it's a slice taken in a way that presents this really cool wheel. So, I think that's really effective. And I see like Batman eyes, almost, kind of going around. So there's a whole bunch of different things we can read into it. I'm on 81, so I had this as a silver. Two things stop me from going higher. One is the kind of cutout stuff that Rachel was talking about. And two is, because this is such a symmetrical piece and it's all about the symmetry, it's not quite bang on. There's a 45-degree line from the top left to the bottom right where it needs to be shifted 1 or 2 more pixels in to get that symmetry. It's just the tiniest bit off. And I like a break in a pattern and an imperfection, but not that one. It feels like a mistake. And I know that sounds like a really small thing, but in an image that requires symmetry at its core to be its strength, that one thing held me back from going higher.
Okay, back to you, Sarah Lee.
Thanks, guys, for your comments. It's really interesting to see what everyone else sees in this image. Yes, there are points that I agree should be used for learning and progression, etc. There are the shift in terms of being slightly out of centre. I hadn't noticed until you pointed it out, and I think I could have stared at it for hours and still not noticed that because of everything else that's in that image. I think you should score it what you feel you should score it. Personally, I believe it's a worthy image, and it's very conceptual and it's well created.
Okay, rescore please, judges. We've moved to 83 Silver Award. Okay, that was our final entry. Thank you so much to everybody that's been here today. Judges, if you can stick around. And for the audience, there is an award called the Ian Poole Memorial Award where you can vote for your favourite judge. So there's a box in the foyer if you want to go pop a name in if you've enjoyed the judging today. Also like to thank our sponsors, C.R. Kennedy, for sponsoring the Student Awards, and to the overall major sponsor, Sony, who are fantastic as well. Thank you so much.